I used to like these backyard parties. They made me feel like I had something figured out. A beautiful wife, a group of friends. The kind of life that looks good in Instagram pictures. Megan always made it look easy. She was the kind of woman who lit up a crowd with nothing but a smirk and a glass of wine. I was by the grill, flipping burgers, pretending I wasn't checking her out across the lawn. That dress she wore tonight? Jesus. Soft fabric, bare shoulders, a smile that wrapped around her wine glass like it had secrets. Even after 5 years, I still felt lucky. "Sean!" someone yelled from the table. "You trying to starve us?" "On my way," I called back, grabbing the tray and heading over. Everyone was laughing, drinking, loosening up. The usual rhythm. Someone says something wild, someone else tops it. Megan throws in a jab that makes people choke on their drinks. She had timing, razor sharp when she wanted to be. And tonight, she wanted to be. They started playing one of those stupid party games. Brutal honesty, compliment and roast. Harmless, right? Jenna, the loud one, grinned and pointed at us. "All right, Megan, your turn. What's Sean's best and worst trait?" I smiled, played along. "Careful now. Remember who made your burger." Megan took a slow sip of her wine, never breaking eye contact with Jenna. "Well," she said, "Sean is loyal. Like golden retriever loyal. He's the guy who'd hold your hair back while you throw up and then apologize for not doing it better." A few ahs and nods. "And the roast?" Jenna leaned in. "Well, he's compact, especially in certain areas. About this much." She raised her hand, curled her pinky finger, and held it up for the table to see. Just her pinky, no words. Everyone got it. Jenna choked on her drink. "Megan! Oh my God!" Laughter exploded. A wave of it. I froze. For a second, I didn't even process what just happened. Then it hit me. The meaning, the gesture, the fact that she did that in front of everyone. And they were all laughing. At me. I felt my stomach twist. My face burned. But I kept the smile on. That empty, frozen smile you wear when you're in public and want to crawl out of your skin. Megan winked at me. "It's just a joke, babe." I forced a chuckle. It sounded like something dying in my throat. "Yeah," I said, reaching for my beer. "Hilarious." Inside, I was crumbling. Someone at the end of the table muttered, "Not that big of a deal." Literally. And another round of laughter broke out. I didn't say a word. Just stared at the bottle in my hand, like it might offer me a reason not to walk the hell out right then and there. It was a joke. Sure. Except the punchline was me. The laughter around the table was still echoing in my head as I stood off to the side, gripping my beer like it might ground me. Megan was already back to laughing at something Jenna said, like nothing had happened. Like the pinky thing was just another line in her one-woman stand-up set. People moved on. I didn't. I stood there for another 5 minutes, maybe 10, smiling at jokes I didn't hear, nodding like I was still part of the group. But I wasn't. Not really. Every time I looked at Megan, I didn't see her. I saw her hand in the air, that stupid little finger, the way her lips curled around the word compact. Eventually, I excused myself, said I had work in the morning. Megan followed a minute later, waving goodbye, still glowing with the buzz of being the funniest person at the party. We walked to the car in silence. She didn't ask if I was okay. She just hummed to herself as we climbed in, pulling the seatbelt across her shoulder with a soft click. I started the engine. My jaw was tight, my hands stiff on the wheel. It wasn't until we'd pulled out of the neighborhood and turned onto the main road that she spoke. "So, you're really not going to say anything?" I didn't answer. "Sean," she said, dragging out the name. "Are you mad?" I exhaled through my nose. Not quite a sigh. More like a pressure valve releasing before something broke. "You embarrassed me," I said quietly. "Oh, come on," she replied, scoffing. "It was a joke. Everyone was laughing." "Yeah," I muttered. "Everyone but me." She laughed a little. Well, maybe don't take yourself so seriously. It's not like I made anything up. I glanced at her. She didn't even flinch, just stared out the window like we were having a conversation about what to watch on Netflix. My stomach turned. I focused back on the road. The streetlights smeared across the windshield as we passed them. Long golden streaks, one after another. It felt like driving through a tunnel of spotlights I didn't want to be in. After a pause, she added, "You've joked about me before." "No," I said. "I've teased you. There's a difference. I've never humiliated you, especially not in front of people." She leaned her head against the window. "You're being dramatic." I didn't answer. Because maybe I was being dramatic. Maybe I was soft. Maybe I was all the things she never said out loud, just hinted at with raised eyebrows and fake laughs. The rest of the ride was wordless. But every mile we drove, I felt something between us growing colder. Like I was watching a frost crawl across the inside of the windshield and settle between the two of us. When we pulled into the driveway, she got out first. I sat in the car for a few seconds longer. Engine still running, head full of noise. Then I killed the ignition and followed her inside. The door clicked shut behind us with that soft, hollow sound I always hated, like the house was swallowing us into silence. Megan kicked off her heels in the hallway and walked into the kitchen without a word, like we were just getting home from a movie. I followed a few steps behind, not sure if I wanted a fight or just something real. She opened the fridge, pulled out a bottle of water, and leaned against the counter, sipping like nothing happened. I stood there in the doorway, arms crossed, watching her. "I keep thinking maybe you'll say you're sorry," I said. She looked up, eyebrows slightly raised. "For what?" "For what?" I repeated, blinking. "For turning me into a punchline, for making a room full of people laugh at me like I'm some pathetic joke." She sighed, like this was exhausting for her. "Sean, I didn't mean anything by it. It was a joke. That's literally it." "No, a joke is when both people laugh. You knew exactly what you were doing." Her eyes narrowed. "You're really going to turn this into some moral crisis?" I didn't answer. I just stared at her, waiting to see if anything human would come out of her mouth. Instead, she said, "It's not like it's a lie." And there it was. That quiet little knife slipped in between the ribs. I nodded slowly. "Okay, got it." She stepped toward me, softer now, like she was trying to repackage the moment, sell it to me as something harmless. "Sean, baby, come on. I've never said anything like that before. It was one moment. Don't let it get in your head." "Too late," I said. "It's already there, because I think you've been waiting to say it for a long time." "That's not true," she said too quickly. "You've always made little comments," I continued. "Always with a smile, always wrapped in a joke. And I always let it slide. I thought, that's just your sense of humor, that you loved me anyway." She crossed her arms, suddenly colder again. "I do love you." "Do you?" I asked. Because tonight didn't feel like love. It felt like someone who finally got tired of pretending. Her mouth tightened. She didn't deny it, and that said more than anything she could have. I looked around the kitchen, the wine glasses still in the sink from before the party, the half-melted candle we always forgot to throw out. Familiar things, dull things. Now they just felt like the set dressing of a fake life. "I'm going to bed," I said, stepping back. "Sean?" "Not with you," I added, and walked toward the spare room, not even bothering to close the door behind me. I woke up to silence. The kind that doesn't feel like peace, more like a warning. Like something hiding just out of sight, waiting. The guest room felt colder in the morning light. I lay there for a moment, staring at the ceiling, trying to convince myself last night hadn't happened the way I remembered it. That maybe I'd taken it all too seriously. That maybe I'd misread the tone. But I hadn't. I got up, pulled on a t-shirt, and padded down the hallway barefoot. The house smelled like coffee. Morning light spilled in through the blinds, casting long shadows across the kitchen floor. Megan was already up. She sat at the kitchen island in one of my old hoodies, legs crossed, scrolling through her phone with a casual flick of the thumb. Her expression was neutral, relaxed. She sipped her coffee and didn't look up. "Morning," she said, without looking away from her screen. I gave a nod, just a small one. I opened the cupboard, pulled out a mug, and poured myself a cup. The sound of coffee hitting ceramic felt louder than it should have. I wanted to say something, to start over, or maybe to confront her again. I wasn't sure, but the weight in my chest made words feel impossible. I kept hoping, foolishly, that maybe she'd start, that maybe she'd say she regretted the joke, that maybe she'd seen the look on my face and it stuck with her through the night the way it stuck with me. But nothing came, just her scrolling, fingertips tapping, a soft breath as she sipped her coffee again. Then I saw it. The family iPad, sitting beside her, screen still on, open, casual, unlocked. She stood up, stretching slightly. "I'm gonna shower," she said. "Try not to sulk all day, okay?" No apology, no sign of regret, just a mild tone, like I'd overreacted to a spilled drink. I opened the cupboard, pulled out a mug, and poured myself a cup. The sound of coffee hitting ceramic felt louder than it should have. I wanted to say something, to start over, or maybe to confront her again. I wasn't sure, but the weight in my chest made words feel impossible. I kept hoping, foolishly, that maybe she'd start, that maybe she'd say she regretted the joke, that maybe she'd seen the look on my face and it stuck with her through the night the way it stuck with me. But nothing came, just her scrolling, fingertips tapping, a soft breath as she sipped her coffee again. Then I saw it. The family iPad, sitting beside her, screen still on, open, casual, unlocked. She stood up, stretching slightly. "I'm gonna shower," she said. "Try not to sulk all day, okay?" No apology, no sign of regret, just a mild tone, like I'd overreacted to a spilled drink. "Jenna." His face, I could barely keep it together. "You're savage." "Megan." "I told you he'd just sit there and take it. He always does. He's too busy trying to be the nice guy to realize I've been roasting him for years." I blinked. "Lauren, you weren't kidding about faking it either?" "Megan, please, if I got $1 for every time I pretended with him, I could buy him a new ego, maybe even a full-sized one." I couldn't keep reading. I locked the screen and set it down slowly, like it might explode if I made a sound. My heart wasn't racing. It wasn't rage. Not yet. It was clarity. That cold, slow kind that wraps around your spine and doesn't let go. The kind that replaces doubt with something worse. Understanding. This wasn't just a one-time mistake. This was normal for her. It wasn't just a joke at a party. It was a pattern. One I'd been too blind, or too trusting, to recognize. She hadn't let it slip. She'd planned it. She had her audience, and I had been the entertainment. The sound of the shower carried through the hallway, muffled but steady. She was in there, singing softly to herself, like nothing had happened, like I wasn't standing in the kitchen, holding the weight of a marriage that suddenly felt like a well-rehearsed play, and I had never been more than the background actor. I stood there, staring at the coffee in my hand. The surface trembled slightly from how tightly I was gripping the mug. For the first time in years, I didn't feel confused. I just felt stupid. The shower stopped. I didn't move. I was still in the kitchen, back against the counter, coffee now cold in my hand. I wasn't thinking clearly, but I wasn't panicked either. Just still. Like when a building collapses, and all that's left is dust in the air. She emerged a few minutes later, wrapped in a towel, her wet hair clinging to her shoulders. She looked surprised to see me still there. Instead, I just stood there, unmoving, watching her. She gave me a little smirk, the kind she used when she wanted to reset the mood. "You look like you've seen a ghost." I didn't answer. She tilted her head. "Still brooding, huh?" "Nothing." Her smile faltered. She crossed her arms, suddenly more self-conscious. "Look, I know you're upset, I get it. I took the joke too far. Can we just—" I read it, I said, voice quiet. Level. She blinked. What? The chat, on the iPad. Her mouth parted slightly, but no words came out. I continued, calm, but with something cold underneath it. Got a circle, right? Lauren, Jenna, the whole crew. Real nice commentary, especially the part about my ego and the faking. That was a nice touch. She opened her mouth, closed it again. Then finally, you went through my messages? You left them open, I said. I didn't need to snoop. You served it up like everything else. Public, loud, cheap. She stepped forward slightly, eyes sharp now, defensive. You had no right. I laughed once, short and dry. I had no idea who I married. I think that gives me every right. Megan paused, measuring her next move. Then she softened. That switch she always flipped when she needed to pull me back in. Sean, come on, she said gently. That group is just talk. It's how we vent. Half of what we say is exaggerated. I shook my head. No, that wasn't venting. That was mockery. That was cruelty dressed up as girl talk. And last night? That was the performance. You've been rehearsing it for months. Her face tensed. You're making this way bigger than it is. I finally put down the mug. My hands were shaking. You know the worst part? I asked. It's not that you humiliated me. It's that you enjoyed it. You laughed louder than anyone else. And now that I'm not laughing with you, it scares you. She stared at me. There was no anger in her eyes now, just something brittle, something she didn't know how to manage. A man who stopped reacting the way she expected. I said I was sorry, she muttered. No, I said. You never did. Silence. She looked like she wanted to say something. Maybe explain, maybe justify, maybe even lash out. But nothing came. And for once, I didn't fill the silence. I let it hang there, thick and heavy. Because sometimes silence says exactly what needs to be said. I didn't go back to the kitchen, didn't raise my voice, didn't slam anything. Just walked to the bedroom and opened the closet. The zipper of the suitcase rasped against the quiet as I pulled it out from under the bed. The sound seemed to echo through the house. Behind me, I heard footsteps. Bare feet against hardwood. Quick, hesitant. Sean? Her voice from the hallway. What are you doing? I didn't answer. I pulled the suitcase onto the bed and started folding shirts. Calmly. Precisely. No wasted motion. Not rushed, not panicked. Like I'd rehearsed this in my head before. Because maybe I had. Megan stepped into the room, towel exchanged for leggings and a loose sweater now. She stood there, arms crossed, watching me like she wasn't sure whether to laugh or panic. You're seriously packing? Still no answer. I grabbed a pair of jeans, rolled them tight, placed them on top of the stack. Sean, she said louder, are you seriously doing this over one joke? I finally looked up. This isn't about one joke. Her lips tightened. Then what? You're really going to leave me over some stupid chat messages? Over venting? I zipped the first compartment shut. It wasn't venting, I said, voice steady. It was who you are when I'm not in the room. That's what I saw. Not exaggeration, not girl talk, just truth. Cruel, casual, and proud of it. She laughed once, sharp, brittle. So now you're the victim? I didn't flinch. No, I was. But I'm done with that role. She walked closer, trying to tower over me like that would still work. You're overreacting. We've had worse fights and bounced back. I paused, hand resting on the edge of the suitcase. This isn't a fight, I said. It's a realization. I thought you loved me. You don't. You just tolerated me long enough to get bored. Her face changed. For the first time since last night, no smirk, no sarcasm, just fear. She stepped back, arms dropping to her sides. You're actually going to walk out? I nodded. I am. Her mouth opened, then closed. She looked like she was about to cry, but no tears came. Only silence. I finished zipping the suitcase, stood up, and took one last look at her. Not to plead, not to make her feel guilty. just to remember, to remind myself that this version of her, the one who smirked behind a screen with her girlfriends, who raised her pinky and laughed while I shrank into my seat, that's who she really was, and I couldn't unsee it. I grabbed the suitcase and walked past her. She didn't follow. She didn't beg. She didn't stop me. She just stood there, staring at the space I left behind. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't look back. A week passed, then another. The first few days felt strange, like waking up in someone else's life. No familiar perfume on the pillows, no second toothbrush on the sink, no one rolling their eyes at the way I stirred my coffee, but also no tension, no cold little jabs at breakfast, no second-guessing every word I said, just quiet. I rented a short-term apartment on the other side of town. Bare walls, cheap furniture, decent mattress. Not home, but not a cage either. I didn't reach out, not once, and she didn't call, didn't text, didn't come looking, until the 12th day. That's when the email came. Subject line: "We need to talk." I didn't think it would hurt you that much. It was just supposed to be funny. You should have told me how insecure you were. I didn't mean to make you feel small. I just thought you could take it. And then, the line that stuck. "I can't believe you walked out over something so minor." I read it twice, closed my laptop, sat back. She still didn't get it. Not really. Because to her, the pinky was just a joke. The messages were just venting. The years of quiet cuts, all just me being too sensitive. But it wasn't about sensitivity. It was about respect. And once that's gone, once someone laughs while you bleed, there's nothing left to salvage. I didn't reply, not out of spite, just because I had nothing left to say. That chapter was done. She could keep her group chats, her clever lines, her curated audience. I had something else now, myself, unedited, unmocked, unapologetically enough. In the end, we split like two people closing a failed business. Cold, cordial, tired. People asked what happened. Family, co-workers, even a few of our mutual friends. I never told the full story. Not because I was ashamed, but because it didn't matter. How do you explain 1,000 paper cuts to someone who's never bled? I just said, "It stopped working. I stopped pretending it did." Most nodded. Some didn't press. A few looked at me like I must have done something wrong. That was fine too. I saw her once by accident. 6 months after the papers were signed. She was walking out of a brunch place downtown, laughing with someone new. Some guy, tall, well-dressed, the type she used to roll her eyes at, back when I was still the one making her laugh. She didn't see me. I watched for a second, just long enough to know she hadn't changed. Same smile, same armor, same show. And then I kept walking, not because I had to, but because there was nothing left to look at. I don't hate her. I don't wish her pain, but I don't miss her either. There's a quiet now, not the kind that hurts, the kind that means peace. And when I look in the mirror these days, I don't wonder if I'm enough. I know I am.